Hey everybody, this is Matt, and in today's video I have for you a Buster Blader Blue Eyes Master 1 Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel deck profile. That's right. So the last 3 videos I put out were Adventures of series where I showed my climb from like low gold to Master 1 playing Buster Blader Blue Eyes. So obviously, you know, I've already showed you the deck list as it evolved throughout those videos. So this is the deck profile video where I go into elaborate explanations for why you play each card, what each card does, where you should hand trap if you're playing against Blue Eyes. I'll also go over like where you should be probably hand trapping against other decks, and so on. So yeah, this is gonna be a 42 card deck. That, you know, because I haven't really done deck profiles in the past, outside of like Dark Magician or Labyrinth, right? And because this deck has so many 1-card starters and stuff, it's actually okay to go over 40 cards. I think 42 is a fine number. If you really want to cut this down to 40 cards, I guess you can. The problem is that there's so many like mandatory quote-unquote cards that you have to play in the current format that it's like it's hard to find a good way to cut down on the number of cards. So let's get started with the deck profile, starting with the core of the deck, right? So the Blue Eyes core, and then I'll move on to the Buster Blader package. So the Blue Eyes core is, we have 2 copies of vanilla Blue Eyes White Dragon. I am running this, original Kaiba artwork. I wish I had 3 of these. It feels bad to build a Blue Eyes deck and not run 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon. It just feels wrong, It's like Kaiba, like a real Kaiba deck would have 3 vanilla Blue Eyes, but and honestly, like, if it doesn't, having more than 2 doesn't add much to the deck, and it increases your chance of breaking. So unlike most vanilla monsters, so this card is not necessarily Garnet in that you do want to see this card in your opening hand sometimes. It's kind of like Lady Labyrinth in a sense, where it's okay to draw 1 of these, and actually, like, it helps some of your combos if you draw 1 of these in your opening hand sometimes, right? But you never want to see 2 of them, right? And yeah, running 3 vanilla Blue Eyes would unfortunately lead to you seeing 2 vanilla Blue Eyes in your opening hand a little too often for my liking, right? So we're running 2 here. We are not running alternative White Dragon. We're not running Jet Dragon. Other Blue Eyes profiles might run Jet Dragon. The reason I don't like Jet Dragon is that it's a brick in a lot of cases, which I'll get into bricks. So this deck has a lot of bricks. So yeah, because we're going to be running the Buster Blader package, yeah, we do end up running some bricks. So I want to cut down how many bricks we run in this deck as much as possible, while also utilizing the Buster Blader package. So, alright, yeah, so 2 vanilla Blue Eyes, pretty good ratio. Let's go with 3 copies of Maiden of White. So this is the new card, and this is probably the main card that makes this deck so unbelievably good, right? Yeah, I mean, there's been a number of new Blue Eyes cards that came out with the structure deck and like with the new support, but this is the main card that like brings everything together. So Maiden has 3 effects. Let's go over all 3 of them. So she's a level 1 light tuner, spellcaster. First effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, place a true light, replace, not set, from your deck, hand, or graveyard face up in your spell trap zone. So this is like, comparing to like Dark Magician, this is like strictly better than like Magician's Salvation. In Magician's Salvation's like placed Eternal Soul instead of set it would be so much better. It'd be like so much freaking better, right? Yeah, but so the fact that this places from deck is really good. Also, this card, dodges. You can't be Ash, can't be Valor, can't be Imperm. You just place from your deck, right? It's like, what hand trap can they really use to stop that? Nothing, right? I mean, maybe like if you're going second, they can call by the grave on it, like that's about it. But like, yeah, this is a great starter because your True Light, which we're gonna get to in a bit, gives you access to not only like your other new engine pieces or that are like support that came out, because True Light can not only special Blue Eyes from hand or graveyard, similar to Eternal Soul and Dark Magician, but it can also place Blue Eyes spell traps from your deck to your field, right? Which also avoids, like any hand traps your opponent might have. So that's just the first effect. The first effect is already goated, right? If it stopped here, it would already be like pretty good, right? Effect number 2. If you special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. So literally every time you special summon Blue Eyes from any location, you immediately get this card back from the graveyard as a special summon. So you get a free level 1 Light Tuner with every Blue Eyes that you put out. It's crazy, right? Granted, all these effects are once per turn, so it's not like you can summon 3 Blue Eyes like to the field on 1 turn and revive her 3 times. No, but still, that's crazy good. That means you automatically have access to your level 9 synchros, right? Your Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. And then the third effect, when this card is targeted for an attack, when a card effect is activated that targets this card on the field, or when this card is targeted for attack, quick effect, you can special summon either Blue Eyes White Dragon or a level 1 Light Tuner from your graveyard. So if you have her going, and you're being attacked into, you can revive Blue Eyes or a tuner, or you can use her effect to get an extra body on the field, right? Depending what you're missing. Do you need another level 1 tuner? Or do you need another Blue Eyes? But yeah, you could target her with cards like Mausoleum of White. You can target her with Sage with Eyes of Blue. Remember, Sage of Eyes of Blue has a hand effect, right? So this card is like unbelievably cracked. Like this card single-handedly makes Blue Eyes playable. Like if they stop releasing support here and they gave us nothing else, this would already be a good. Like Blue Eyes would already be good enough to be playable, right? That's how crazy this card is. Yeah, so we're playing 3 of hers. If you are playing against Blue Eyes White Dragon, right? So let's say, so far we've added to our Blue Eyes core 2 vanilla Blue Eyes and 3 Maiden. Let's say you are playing against a Blue Eyes player, and you have a Bestial. You should never Bestial the vanilla Blue Eyes. You should always Bestial the Maiden of White, because the Maiden of White graveyard effect is so crazy good. Plus her on-field effect, right? So you basically lock them out of having a tuner to go into synchro plays, having an extra body to potentially go into link plays, or just like the ability to just bring out more bodies via her third effect, right? So if you have a Bestial in hand, this is what you want to hit. Ideally, you chain the Bestial to the activation of Maiden's effect in the graveyard, so that, because it's hard once per turn, right? She gets banished, her effect fizzles, and then yeah. Now, if you have a Bestial in your hand and your opponent ends their turn or like goes through their full combo and they never put Maiden into the graveyard, then I guess you could banish their Blue Eyes, the vanilla Blue Eyes, but banishing the vanilla Blue Eyes does very little in this deck, as you'll soon see, right? Yeah. So if you're playing Bestials and you want to know, hey, how do I like say in the mirror match, right? You want to Bestial the Maiden. Yeah, that's the best way to do with this card. All right, let's continue. So we're playing 3 copies of Sage with Eyes of Blue. Sage with Eyes of Blue is the OG Blue Eyes starter, right? Yeah, this card is level 1 Light Tuner, once again spellcaster. 2 effects. When this card is normal summon, you can add 1 level 1 Light Tuner from your deck to your hand, except itself. So this card can literally search Maiden. So this card is a full combo, 1 card full combo, straight up. This normal summon effect is not once per turn. It is not once per turn. It is not once per turn. It is not once per turn. I have to stress this. It is not once per turn. Okay? The reason this matters is because I'm later going to show you that we're going to be playing Mausoleum of White, which allows Blue Eyes players to effectively normal summon twice per turn. So if your opponent Blue Eyes player normal summon Sage, you Ash, Veil, or Imperm the Sage, you're wasting your time, right? Like, because they can theoretically normal summon another Sage later in the same turn and still get a search. So unless you open your hand with like 3 Imperms or like all these extra interruptions, first of all, this is not the best Ash target. Even if you have an extra an extra Ash, you should not be Ashing Sage. Never Ash Sage. That's a mistake. Sage is one of the worst Ash targets you could possibly do, and yet I still see people Ash Sage. Never Ash Sage. If you're playing against Blue Eyes, do not Ash Sage. That's just absurd, right? right? So yeah, most of the time you don't want to Imperm or Veiler this either because there's a better target, which I'll get into later. And also the normal summon effect is not once per turn. And then but its second effect is once per turn, and the second effect reads: you can discard this card, then target one effect monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck. It says Blue Eyes monster, which means you could bring out the Jet Dragon, but we're not playing the Jet Dragon, so in this case you would be bringing out the vanilla Blue Eyes. So this interacts really well with Maiden because this discards itself for cost, targets an effect monster. So you do, let's say you had an extra Sage in hand and you had Maiden on field. Sage target, discard itself, target Maiden. Chain link 1, chain link 2, chain Maiden because it was targeted by a card effect. And Maiden will revive from the graveyard the exact same Sage that just discarded itself for cost. Revive the Sage, and then Sage's second effect will resolve, which says send that that target to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck. So essentially, if you have Maiden on field and Sage in hand, you get a free Blue Eyes, like White Dragon, or Blue Eyes monster from your deck to your field, and this is and you still have a tuner, so you don't lose a body, right? You still end up with a Blue Eyes monster, a level 8, and then you have your level 1 tuner. So yeah, this is really good secondary effect. So if you draw an extra Sage, there's no harm. Like, opening 2 Sage is not the end of the world. Not only could you normal summon it twice in this deck, but if you don't normal summon it a second time, you can literally just like use its effect. In fact, opening all 3 Sages is actually fine because again, you can normal summon it twice. Each normal summon gives it a search, and then the third one in hand, you just use its secondary effect to get a Blue Eye. So again, this is as a trap deck player, I often like. When the mentality of building trap decks is different than the mentality of building combo or even mid-range decks, where you want to because you want to increase you want the same end board as much as possible, right? You usually max out ratios, right? And sometimes cards will break in your hand, right? So the problem with this, so in like a trap deck like Labyrinth, I would advocate for cards that have hard ones per turn effects. You just run 2 of them, right? But in this case, Sage is just like, there's no downside to playing 3 Sage. There's literally none, right? You can draw all 3 Sage and all of them can do something, right? Unlike drawing like 3 copies of like, vanilla Blue Eyes, or 3 copies of like, Ice Dragon's Prison, whatever. Similar with Maiden, right? So Maiden, right, is okay to draw more than 1 copy because A, it's the number 1 bestial target, so you want to have the second one as backup. B, if you're sending her to the graveyard, you might still want to normal summon her, right? To get her on the field, right, before you get your Blue Eyes out. So yeah, there are advantages to drawing more than 1 Maiden as well. So this is fine. Yeah, so these are all mandatory ratios. I don't see any reason to ever cut these down to fewer than 3 each. Like, honestly, it's just too good. Right. Moving on. We're playing 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Now, wait, aren't we talking? Wait, didn't I say that this was a Blue Eyes? Are we talking about the Blue Eyes core? Yeah, technically, I'm still on the section of Blue Eyes core cards, but like, 3 Veiler is just so freaking good in this deck that like, Veiler is basically a Blue Eyes engine piece in that, like, as you'll soon see, not only can Sage search Veiler because it's a level 1 light tuner, but other cards in this deck, which I'll get into soon, can also search Effect Veiler. So this card is searchable via your main engine, and Effect Veiler is simply a level 1 tuner, spellcaster, light spellcaster, right? Which means that it could actually be an extender. Sometimes you just if you don't have other cards in hand, you just normal summon Veiler, and then you continue your combo, right? Like, normal summoning Veiler is a very reasonable thing to do in this deck as part of your main engine combo. So because of that, and also, if you have 2 Effect Veilers in your opening hand and no other Blue Eyes cards, let's say you open 2 Effect Veilers, right? Ash, Imperm, and like, let's say a Droll, right? or whatever other card. Let's say you open non-engine, but you have 2 Effect Veilers. You can still end on a Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon in this deck, right? Because Veiler is technically a starter, and theoretically an extender. Like, it's crazy how synergistic that Veiler is in this. So it's like, Yeah, you just gotta play 3. Like I don't see, and plus the Veiler's effect, which is to on your opponent's turn discard Veiler to negate a monster effect, is not once per turn. If you open all 3 Veilers, they will all do something right on your opponent's turn, right? So yeah, I consider Veilers to be core to this deck. If you're not playing 3 Veiler, like you're actually trolling. Like I know in like Labyrinth decks, I've mentioned how like, oh, you know, hand traps suck, they don't do anything. Yeah, to decks like Labyrinth, they don't do anything, right? But against other combo heavy decks or like, you know, degenerate whatever decks, Veiler is pretty useful. And the fact that we can search into Veilers using our main engine is like means that your opponent is gonna have to deal with more interruptions, right? Yeah. So even though most of the time Sage with Eyes of Blue will be searching Maiden, if you don't have Maiden, you can very well search Veiler if you already have Maiden, or if you already have the other pieces of this combo. Like you can just search, Veiler, right? Like why not? Okay. So let's continue. We have we're playing 2 copies of Neo Kaiser Seahorse. So for most of my climb, I was playing one of these, and the only reason I was playing one of these is so for Neo Kaiser Seahorse is a full combo starter. So it is a 1-card full combo, right? Let's read what it says. So it's a level 4 Light Dragon Tuner. So it's not a level 1 tuner. Cannot be searched by Sage, right? It says if you control Blue Eyes while dragging, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it's an extender if you have Blue Eyes on the field. Number 1. Number 2. Oh, and second effect, you can target a light tuner control, increase or decrease the level by 1. So there's 2 main utilities for this. 1, you can target your maiden, which will cause her which can trigger her on-field effect to special another tuner from the graveyard, right? So you get more bodies, right? But also the other thing is that you can modulate the level of Neo Kaiser Seahorse down to level 3, which will give you access to Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon on your own turn without tagging out via Spirit Dragon. So I'll get into what that means later. But yeah, this card is just good. It's not the best support we got, and in fact, in TCG, because we have the Primate engine. In fact, once the Primate engine comes out Master Duel, we're gonna cut Kaiser Seahorse completely, right? Yeah, so it's both a starter and an extender. It's not the best starter, but it's quite good. And yeah, so the idea is that we have a link one now with this deck, so you can normal summon this guy, link it off, and then its graveyard effect will dump Maiden into the graveyard. And once Maiden's in the graveyard, you can revive her very easily, right? And then use her ability to get True Light. So yeah, so we're playing 2. I initially had 1. Another reason for playing this card is because it's a dragon. Unlike the other starters, are spellcasters. So this card can be searched by Bestial Magnamut. Speaking of Bestial Magnamut, let's actually add that to the list right now. So I believe Bestial Magnamut is core to this deck, simply because if you're going second, obviously its ability to banish one of your opponent's light dark monsters is very useful. Because in the current format, there's a lot of decks that utilize light dark monsters, especially any deck that runs Fiendsmith, right? You can use this to banish an important Fiendsmith engine piece, right? Like Engraver, for example, or Luri, right? And it could kill their engine on its tracks, but also, going second, if you do that and you summon this guy, on summon, you search a dragon on the end phase. And you can literally search Neo Kaiser Seahorse, which is a dragon, and then you have full combo. So if you open your hand with no hand trap, let's say you're going second, and you open your hand with 5 hand traps, right? You open Magnamut and like 4 other hand traps. Not only will you probably stop your opponent from playing their turn, but if you are able to get Magnamut on the field and he doesn't get ashed or whatever, you literally search Neo Kaiser Seahorse and your full combo next turn, going into their board, right? So yeah, this card searches Neo Kaiser Seahorse. So that was the main reason I was playing 1 to begin with, because this is not the best starter, but it is a starter nonetheless. It's also an extender, and I wanted to, and you want to be able to search it off Magnamut. The reason I bumped it up to 2 is because I wanted to increase how often I was seeing engine a little bit more, right? Another cool part about this card, which did come in handy a few times during my climb, is it's a normal summon with 1700 attack. Why does that matter? Because sometimes if you hand trap your opponent enough, like let's say you do that situation that I mentioned where you go on second, you hand trap your opponent, you stop their plays, and then you Magnamut search into whatever, like your seahorse, right? They might just end their board on like Little Knight Pass. Little Knight, maybe they banish your Magnemite, right? But then you literally normal summon this guy, battle phase, kill Little Knight, and then main phase 2 full combo, right? So the fact that this guy can literally just run over Little Knight, right? Or IP Masquerena, or like whatever other annoying monsters your opponent might have, right? It's just good, right? It'll prevent Little Knight from being able to use its effect to save itself or to tag out, right, or whatever, to run away like a coward, right? Yeah, so it's just good, I would say. Yeah, so I bumped it up to 2 just because I wanted to see it slightly more often, right? But you can very much keep this down at 1. I would say probably avoid going into 3. The only time you should play 3 Neo Kaiser Seahorse is if you're playing pure Blue Eyes with no Buster Blader package, because then you just need, because then you have more space in your deck for engine. But also, like, this just helps you extend. And in Pure Blue Eyes, you also this also helps you if you're playing Pure Blue Eyes, which includes the Dragon Master Magia, right? Sending this card to the graveyard is another way to put, like, for example, Chaos Max Dragon into the graveyard if you want, or like this could also put Blue Eyes Jet Dragon into the grave, right? If you want. So yeah, so this card is better in pure builds, right? But since I'm not playing a pure build, it's not as good. So 1 or 2 is fine. Again, I have 2 because I just wanted to see this guy slightly more often as I got into Master Rank, because he's just like a solid dude, right? Right. So that is the core monster lineup, I would say. Let's get into the spells, right? All right. So Wishes with Eyes of Blue is probably the 3rd best. Well, it's arguable. It's hard to decide what the best card after Maiden is. Maiden is strictly the best card, period. Wishes, some could argue, is the 2nd best Blue Eyes support card that we got with the new structure deck and the new wave. So it has 2 effects. It reads as follows. First effect: discard a card, add 1 level 1 Light Tuner and 1 spell trap that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand, except for Wishes for Eyes of Blue. So this is a new trend that Konami is doing, where cards and monsters, or like effects or whatever, searchers are now searching 2 engine pieces instead of 1, right? So, but with the exchanges, you discard for cost. So, by the way, if you're wondering, Ash Blossom target, here you go. This is the Ash Blossom target. If you are playing against Blue Eyes, save Ash for this card every time. Do not Ash Sage, do not Ash anything else, do not Ash Roar. This is the card you Ash, period. You just Ash this, trust me. Like, doesn't matter, just Ash this. And trust me, Blue Eyes players, if you think, oh, maybe they don't have this card, no, Blue Eyes players have a few ways to get to this card. So just assume they're gonna have it. They already have, or they're going to have it on their turns, and just save Ash for this, because this goes neg 1, right? So if I play Wishes, I discard a card, and you Ash, I spent 2 cards, you spent 1 card, right? The person who Ashes only, so the person who played this card negs 2. So you always Ash this card. Don't fuck around. Trust me. Do not Ash any other card. The only exception I would think is like it's like turn 3 or 4, we're in grind game situation, like your opponent top deck Sage and then normal summon Sage, like maybe you Ash the Sage, maybe, right? That depends on whether or not they've already searched Mausoleum. Like, it depends on other factors, right? But so Ashing Sage is like a maybe, or like, I don't know, like maybe you're in top deck, they top deck Roar, they use Roar to bring out Blue Eyes, or to try to bring out Blue Eyes from the deck, but then you Ash that so they don't get a body, because maybe they would have killed you with the Blue Eyes, whatever. There are some very niche scenarios where you Ash other cards against a Blue Eyes player, but those niche situations depends very heavily on the game state. But no, this is the Ash target. So trust me. All right, let's talk about the second effect. The second effect is that you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a Blue Eyes White Dragon you control, equip a Blue Eyes monster from your extra deck to it as an equip spell that gives it 400 attack, and then of course each of these effects are once per turn. So 2 important things to note about this effect. Well, number 1, it can help get you Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon into the graveyard, which is a target negate. It can also help you get access to Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon is this fusion monster that says you can actually special summon it by using a Blue Eyes equipped with a fusion monster to it as its only material, so you don't need polymerization or anything. And also, it can get you Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon into the graveyard, which may be important for situations where you are in the case where you're playing pure Blue Eyes and you want to make Dragon Master Magia, right? Because Dragon Master Magia requires Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon to fuse, and it can be in the graveyard, right? So yeah, very good spell. Moving on, we have one copy of Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons. So this card is good. It's a one of because it's searchable in so many ways. The Wishes can search into this, right? While the Wishes can also search into True Light. I mean, probably shouldn't, but can. This card says special summon defense edition, one Blue Eyes monster from your deck, graveyard, or banishment. But if you control no Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can only special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon with this effect. Also, you're locked out of. You can only special summon dragons from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So this card is a. So remember when I said that using Bestials to banish, let's say you're playing against Blue Eyes, use Bestial to banish their Vanilla Blue Eyes. They can literally get Vanilla Blue Eyes back to the field with this card from banishment. So, yeah, not very effective to Bestial banish Blue Eyes, so probably don't do it. And then this card can special Blue Eyes from deck, graveyard, or hand, or banishment, right? Oh, not hand, actually. Whatever. So this can be important because let's say you're playing against a player and then they use Molcharmi Fualos against you. Molcharmi Fualos is a Diet Maxi card, hand trap, which basically says that your opponent draws a card, or like whoever uses Molcharmi Fualos, draw a card every time you special summon from deck or extra deck. So if you already have a Blue Eyes in the graveyard and you're under Fualos, like just special summon it from the graveyard and they won't draw any cards. So yeah, this is a very flexible card, very useful. And then the second effect of this card, which can come up, right? Says so now you can only use one of these effects per turn, so you can't use the summon on the same effect as the second effect. Second effect allows you to banish this card from the graveyard to fusion summon a fusion monster using monster from your hand or field, including Blue Eyes, a Blue Eyes monster. So you can actually make Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon using this card on subsequent turns. So let's say you already used the Wishes to attach Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate, and you already sent that to the graveyard, right? So you can't tribute a Blue Eyes attached with the monster anymore. Then you can use this card on a subsequent turn to fuse into Tyrant Dragon. Because literally all you need to make Tyrant Dragon is a Blue Eyes in any dragon, and we have access to quite a few dragons in this deck, as you'll soon see. So very good card. We are playing one copy of Majesty of the White Dragons. Another new support searchable card. So this card reads: show up to 3 of the Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand, face on monster zone or a graveyard, then destroy an equal number of cards your opponent controls. So that means this could theoretically give you a pop 3 if you have 3 vanilla Blue Eyes. Since we're running 2, most of the time this card will be pop 1 or pop 2. It is very easy to get this to a pop 2 if we're running 2 vanilla Blue Eyes, so most of the time this will be a pop 2. And the cool part about this is it's a pop 2 non-targeting, right? So your opponent has to chain, and if they chain to summon monsters like that, the new monsters they summon can be popped immediately and then don't get their on-summon effects. So very good card. Additionally, you know how I said that sometimes it's okay to open a Blue Eyes in your opening hand? Well, this card can pop monsters by just revealing the Blue Eyes in your hand, right? So yeah, it's not a big deal if you open like one vanilla Blue Eyes in your hand. It's not the best, but it's fine. It's not a break. And this is a normal trap card, which means it can be reset from the graveyard using Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. I'm gonna get to Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon soon, but Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon allows you to reset normal trap cards from your graveyard to your field after attacking in battle phase. So you can theoretically like recycle this every turn. Very good card. And then of course we have True Light, which kind of like Eternal Soul, but just better in a lot of ways. So while this is faced on the field, your opponent cannot target Blue Eyes White Dragons, the vanilla one, in your monster's zone with card effects. If this card is sent to the graveyard, from the spell trap zone to the graveyard, So this it has to be face up, right? Destroy all monsters you control. Yeah, so if you're against a Blue Eyes deck, this is where you Ghost Ogre. You Ghost Ogre this card every time. So if you're playing Ghost Ogre, wait for your opponent to use their True Light, and then you Ghost Ogre. It'll not only get prevent the search or summon, it'll get this card in the graveyard. It'll trigger its mandatory graveyard effect, clear your opponent's field, and then yeah, your opponent might be toast. Now, remember, Maiden can actually place this card onto your field from the graveyard. So if you get rid of this card, it can come back via Maiden. But the best way to truly get rid of this card is to banish it. So like Cosmic Cyclone, or like banish it somehow, right? And then it will not come back. But yeah, so when you activate True Light effect, you can use one of two effects: Special Summon Blue Eyes from hand or graveyard. So obviously that can trigger Maiden effect, right? Most of the time, when you end your board, you'll have True Light. On your opponent's turn, they'll do some stuff. You'll stop them, and then when they pass to you on their end phase, you can resummon Blue Eyes. And then Maiden comes back, right? And then you immediately have follow-up. And then the second thing is set a spell trap from your hand that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon with a different name from the cards you control or in your graveyard. So yeah, most of the time, if you didn't already draw Wishes, this card will be searching Wishes. Why? Because remember that Wishes searches another spell trap card, right? So why search a spell trap card if you can simply search Wishes and then search the spell trap card, right? So most of the time, if you're going first, you will be setting Wishes off this, and again, it's a set, which means they can't ash you. And then Wishes will be searching, for example, Roar or Majesty. Now, if you know for a fact they have Ash Blossom, then you don't set Wishes, you set like Roar or Majesty right away. Although Roar can be bashed, right? But yeah, so when you're going first, most of the time when you're building your board, right, Maiden will be sent to the graveyard at some point, and then you'll use this card to search a spell trap. So if you already have Wishes, then you probably don't need to, right? And then maybe you can use the other effect to get a body instead. Also, one thing to note. So remember, Maiden can take back place True Light from the graveyard. So you can use, if you open Wishes, you can Wishes, discard True Light, search into a tuner and then a spell trap, and then later the same turn when you Maiden, the Maiden will replace the True Light from the graveyard onto the field, which means you don't neg it. You don't really neg, right? When you make this play, so it's pretty cool to be able to do that. Yeah, so this is the core of the deck. This is the Blue Eyes core that I believe every Blue Eyes deck should be playing. And if you're not playing like some combination of these cards, you're kind of a bozo. Now again, I would say you can bump Neo Kaiser Seahorse up to 3 if you're playing pure, or even the Bestial version of Blue Eyes, right? So if you're playing Bestial Blue Eyes or pure Blue Eyes, you run 3 Neo Kaiser. If you're running some variants of Blue Eyes, such as Invoked, such as Buster Blader, etc., you run 1 or 2. And of course, in pure Blue Eyes decks, you may want to actually replace one of these vanilla Blue Eyes with Jet Dragon, or add a Jet Dragon as a third option, but as a third Blue Eyes monster. But Jet Dragon is like kind of bricky. I don't like Jet Dragon for that, but also Jet Dragon with the Buster Blader cards, like it's like I don't want to run any more bricks than I already have to. Plus, it's not as super consistent. If you're running Buster Blader, you should not be running Master with Eyes of Blue. So pure Blue Eyes decks will be running Master with Eyes of Blue, because Master can get your Sage back, right, from the graveyard, and then you can extend, and then you can do an Ancient Fairy Dragon play, right? So it's very easy to get Jet Dragon out in a pure version because you have Master into Sage loop, right? So it makes sense, a bit more sense in the pure version to play Jet. In the Buster Blader version, it does not make sense to me. Like, Jet does not really come out easily, and even if it did, like, it's like if you hard drew into Jet, that's like another brick. And we're already kind of playing some bricks in this deck, as you'll soon see. So keep that in mind. All right, so that is the Blue Eyes core. No, this is 20 cards, so we're nearly halfway done with the deck. And actually, 4 of those cards are hand traps. So yeah, we're already in a very good spot. So technically, if we remove the hand traps, we're sitting at 16 core cards, right? And obviously, plus or minus 1 Neo Kaiser Seahorse, plus or minus 1 Jet Dragon, plus or minus 1 Master with Eyes of Blue, depending on what variant you're running. And actually, we're missing one more card here, which is crucial to this deck, which is 1 copy of Mausoleum of White. Yeah, so we're actually 21 cards here. Yeah, so Mausoleum of White is a field spell, which says, during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 light level 1 Light Tuner in addition to your normal summon and set once per turn, right? And then once per turn, you can target a face-up monster you control, send one normal monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, the targeted monster gains attack defense equal to the level of the monsters in the graveyard times 100 until the end of this turn. Even this card leaves the field. And then its last effect, which we don't care about, because it would require us to run more bricks. You can match this card from your graveyard, add 1 Burst Stream of Destruction from your deck to your hand. So yeah. This card is now searchable in this deck, which I'm going to get into soon. It's searchable via the extra deck. But yeah, so with Mausoleum of White on the field, you can normal summon Sage twice and get its on-summon effect twice. You can normal summon Neo Kaiser and then later normal summon Sage. Or yeah, so it's very good. Very good card. And it is now going to be searchable, as you'll see as we get into the extra deck. Speaking of the extra deck, we're running 2 copies of Spirit with Eyes of Blue. This is the new Link 1 monster which came out in the structure deck and also with the new wave of support Master Duel. This card says you can make this card using 1 level 4 lower Dragon Spellcaster monster, which means you can use an Effect Veiler, you can use Sage, you can use Maiden, you can use Neo Kaiser Seahorse. All these can go into this guy. So this has 3 effects. The first effect is a continuous effect, which a lot of people forget about, but it's very important you do not forget about. This card says you cannot special summon except dragon monsters. So you're locked into dragons. Okay. The second effect is the next 2 effects are once per turn each. The first one says if this card is link summon, you can take a Mausoleum of White from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So this card makes Mausoleum of White searchable. Which gives you access to more normal summons. It's very good. And then finally, the second ability, the last ability says you can tribute this card, special summon a Blue Eyes monster from hand or graveyard. But if you special summon an effect monster from your graveyard, but its effect, it cannot attack, and its effects are negated. So most of the time, you'll be using this to special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon. Although in the other Blue Eyes variants where you're running Jet Dragon, you could use this to special summon Jet. Jet will be negated, but if you crash Jet and get it destroyed, let's say you crash into an opposing 3000 attack monster, Jet gets destroyed, it can revive itself immediately, right? Because it'll no longer be negated in the graveyard. So yeah, this is an important combo piece, and we're running 2 of these because, well, 1 is too few, because if you get, oh, by the way, for those of you who were wondering before, if you are playing against Blue Eyes, this is the card you Ash or Veiler. You Imperm or Veiler. Do not Ash this card, Veiler or Imperm it. Why? Because if you Veiler or Imperm this, they do not get Mausoleum, which means they don't get a second normal summon, which means their turn might be over in the sense of they've already used 1 normal summon to get to this card, most likely, right? And then without access to Mausoleum, unless they hard drew it, right, they can't do a second normal summon. And Mausoleum can be used to get Blue Eyes White Dragon to the graveyard, and then you can use this card to tribute itself to revive Blue Eyes White Dragon from the graveyard, right? So you can literally get Blue Eyes into the graveyard and then onto the field using this card, right? So under Veiler Imperm, none of that can happen. Number 1, your opponent cannot get access to Mausoleum with second normal summon. Number 2, your opponent cannot get access to Blue Eyes White Dragon. And number 3, if you Veiler Imperm, let's say your opponent passes, let's say they run out of plays, you go into the next turn with your opponent having this card on their field, and it will not be negated next turn. But guess what? Remember the first effect says you cannot special summon except dragon monsters, which means your opponent cannot Nibiru you, right? Nibiru is a rock monster, and this card, while it's on the field, says you can only special summon dragons, which means if you Imperm Veiler this card, it might end your opponent Blue Eyes player's turn, might, right? If they have like nothing else, right? And they cannot Nibiru you on the subsequent turn. That's great. That's just win-win for you, right? So this is the objectively best Veiler Imperm target. Don't bother Veiler and Imperming anything else, right? Yeah, this is just the best target to do it. So because most players run Veiler Imperm, we want to run at least 2 of these, right? Because on the subsequent turn, we can, assuming your opponent hasn't killed us, right? But most of the time they won't kill us. We can try again and make another one of these to search Mausoleum again. So yeah, so that's one application of why you would want 2. 3, I would say the third one probably never comes up, but yeah, but also we do need extra deck space for other things. So yeah, 2 is just a good number because 2 things. 1, if you get hand trapped on this, You can try again on the subsequent turn, and they might not have a hand trap or a way to stop it again. But 2, let's say they don't hand trap you the first time, right? Let's say you full combo set up your board. And let's say on your opponent's turn they take out your True Light, right? On the subsequent turn, if you're able to make this guy again, you can use him to revive Blue Eyes White Dragon, which will revive Maiden, because Maiden's still in your graveyard, remember? And which means that you will be able to use Maiden to get your True Light back from the graveyard. So this is just good follow-up, right? Yeah, so any level 1, 4 or lower spellcaster on a follow-up turn, like turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, can go into this, which can go into Blue Eyes, which goes into Maiden, which can reset True Light. So it's like this card kind of enables you to not just full combo, but to rebuild your board after it might have been destroyed, right? So that's why, like I was mentioning, how Effect Veiler is so good into this in this deck as an engine piece, because you literally can just if you just top deck Effect Veiler, you normal summon Veiler, make this card, you full combo, you pop off, you revive Blue Eyes, maybe get Mausoleum if you didn't already have it, right? You get Maiden back on the field, you use Maiden to retrieve your True Light back if you lost it, right? Or you could just go straight into like link plays or a synchro plays. It's just a good card. Like this is a very good card. Okay, let's be honest. So if Maiden is the best card in the support, when you support, Spirit with Eyes of Blue is probably the second best card. Yeah, it's probably like a close tie between, or close running between this card and Wishes, because of just how good this card is. Yeah, so 2 is enough, 1 is too few, and 3 is probably too much, right? All right, more extra deck cards. We want we're playing 2 copies of Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. So this card is minimum mandatory 2, and other variants of Blue Eyes. If you're playing pure Blue Eyes or even Bishop Blue Eyes, you can actually run 3 of these. And actually, pure Blue Eyes absolutely should run 3 of these. But yeah, 1 is definitely too few, because most of the time you have enough gas in this engine to easily end your turn with 2 Spirit Dragons. You could 2 Spirit Dragons pass is a very common end board when you're going first. So yeah, so why would you limit yourself to just 1, and maybe a third one might even come up, right? So, but in the Buster Blader variant, which is what I built, which is what this profile is about, yeah, this is actually a 2 of, because with 3 you kind of run low on deck building space, right? So yeah, so minimum 2. So this is a level 9 synchro made with 1 tuner and a non-tuner Blue Eyes, which means Blue Eyes with any level 1 tuner, and we have a lot of them, can make this card. This card says neither player can special summon 2 or more monsters at the same time. Get wrecked Pendulum players. So if you're against a Pendulum deck, they literally cannot Pendulum summon more than 1 monster, right? So good luck. Yeah, so you definitely want this on the field against Pendulum boards, right? You also against Snake Eyes. This card says that your opponent's Snake Eye Flamber's Dragon cannot revive 2 monsters from the graveyard, right? So when Flamber's Dragon goes to the graveyard, it revives 2 level 1s. You literally can't do that if this card's on the field. So very good card, right? Second effect. Once per turn, when an effect of a card in the graveyard is activated, you can negate that activation. So this is once per turn per card, which means if you end on 2 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragons, you have 2 graveyard negates. Now, why are 2 graveyard negates really good? Let's say your opponent uses Ghost Ogre on your turn to pop your True Light. You can use Spirit. So True Light has an activated graveyard effect that's mandatory, which will destroy your field. You can use Spirit Dragon to negate your own True Light, so it does not destroy your field on your turn. And then you go into their turn and you have negates, right? Or on your opponent's turn, let's say they Lightning Storm you, take out your back row. You can use this this guy to negate your own True Light. And then if you have, most of the time you'll have a second one of these, and then you can negate something else. Or let's say they don't take out True Light. Let's say they're just comboing off, right? You're against a Fiendsmith player, negate Luri, right? You're against a Yubel player, negate the Spirit of Yubel pop effect in the graveyard after it was popped, right? You have many options of negations, because there's a lot of cards in the current format that use graveyard effects, right? So you're against a tier limit player, negate their fucking tier names in the graveyard. This is great, right? Yeah, so once per turn per card. And then the third effect, which also comes up often, quick effect. You can tribute this synchro summon card, special summon a light dragon synchro monster from your extra deck in defense position except itself, but destroyed during the end phase. So after you've used this card's graveyard effect, you can tag it out to bring another monster from the extra deck, another synchro monster, which I'm going to get into soon. So the reason this is also really good is because let's say your opponent attempts to, like, let's say they I don't know, they foolish barrier or tier name, and then they try to use the tier name to, like, whatever in the graveyard. You chain Spirit Dragon, they chain Imperm to try to negate your Spirit Dragon. You can literally chain Spirit Dragon to tag itself out so it dodges Imperm. So yeah, this is just a very good card. Easy to dodge target effects, easy to negate graveyard effects. Graveyard effects are very, very common in the current format. Although against certain decks, like let's say you're against a Tenpai player deck, then they probably won't really be using graveyard effects, or any D-shifter deck, right? Kashtira won't be using graveyard effects, like Millennium Exodia will not be using graveyard effects, but every other deck, right, will be using graveyard effects. So if you find out your opponent is not using graveyard, doesn't care about graveyard effects, then maybe you can just tag this out immediately, right? And then just go into other synchros. Either way, this is like an amazing card. Mandatory 2 of minimum. We are playing 1 copy of Neo of Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. This is also a new card with the structure deck / new support. This card is very good. It's a level 12 synchro, requires 2 tuners minimum and 1 non-tuner Blue Eyes monster. So how do you make this normally? 1 level 8 Blue Eyes, 1 level 1 tuner of your choice, and you could also use, and then plus Kaiser Seahorse, which is another tuner. But wait, doesn't 4 + 1 + 8 equal 13? Yes, but remember, Neo Kaiser Seahorse has this effect that says you can change the level of a tuner. So you can use Neo Kaiser Seahorse to make itself level 3, and then you have a level 3 tuner, level 1 tuner, and then a level 8 Blue Eyes. So you can make Ultimate Dragon on your turn if you wish. So yeah, so it can be made on your turn, but most of the time you will be making this card using the other Blue Eye Spirit monster, Dragon monster, to tag out into this card. So after you've used this graveyard negate effect, you can tag out into this guy, and now you have its new effects. This card has 2 effects. Number 1 actually has 3 effects. First effect, your opponent cannot banish cards from your graveyard, which means they cannot Bishul you or called by or anything. So this is very important because let's say your opponents, let's say on it's your turn, like you're going first, you're making this board, right? You managed to make the first Spirit Dragon. You revive Blue Eyes, or you get a Blue Eyes on the field, and then you're trying to revive Maiden so that you can make a second Spirit Dragon. And then they chain Abyss Shield to try to banish your Maiden. You can chain your Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon and make into this guy to protect your Maiden from being Abyss Shield. And then you get your Maiden onto the field. They do not get their Abyss Shield onto the field. And in fact, they won't be able to Abyss Shield you anymore for the rest of the game, right? As long as this guy's on the field, right? And that's really good. This card also can stop your opponent from called by the grave. Like, let's say you're going, you set up your board, you go into your opponent's turn, they use Max C on them, they try to call by on the Max C, you can tag out Spirit Dragon, it's Ultimate Spirit Dragon, then your Max C resolves. It does not get called by, right? So, very good card. Another thing, let's say you have 2 Blue Eye Spirit Dragons. Let's say you've used one of the graveyard effects, and then you try to tag it out into another monster, and then they try to call by on your tagged out Spirit Dragon. You can tag out your second Spirit Dragon into this guy so that your first Spirit Dragon does not get called by, right? So, yeah, this is just very good, being able to stop your opponent from banishing cards from your graveyard. Very useful. And then the other effects. You can use each of these following effects once per turn. When a card or effect is activated on the field, quick effect, negate the activation, and if you do, this card gains 1,000 attack. So this has an on-field Omni Negate, which does not destroy the card that it negates. So fairly healthy negate. It has to be on the field, so it cannot stop graveyard or hand effects, and it does not remove like if it's like a monster that's using effect, it does not remove the body, right? And then the last effect, if this card is destroyed by battle card effect, you can special summon 1 light dragon monster from your graveyard except itself, which means so you can tag out into this guy if he gets destroyed by your opponent, or remember on the end phase of the turn where you tag out regular Spirit Dragon, read this effect. You have to destroy it during the end phase. So on the end phase, when this card is destroyed, you can literally just get your Blue Eye Spirit Dragon back, right? And then it's all Gucci, right? So this is very good. So this is a mandatory one of. There's other ways of keeping on the deck on the field other than this Kaiser Seahorse situation. But let me also comment on one more thing. Remember how I said Magnamut was a part of this deck, right? So when Magnamut is special summon, it adds a dragon monster to your hand on the end phase, but this can actually add it from the graveyard, not just from the deck, which means if, like, on a future turn, let's say your Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon has already been used and it's already in your graveyard, you can literally put it back into your extra deck using Magnamut, right? So, and you can use it again. So, yeah, so even though we only have one of these, we technically have the means to recycle it, right? So it's not the end of the world. Yeah, this is a very good card. Effectively, what this means is that one card, just one line of plays can get you, one Spirit Dragon can get you 2 interruptions, a Graveyard Negate and an on-field Omni Negate. So let's say your opening hand consists of 2 Effect Veilers and no other engine. Normal summon Effect Veiler, make Spirit with Eyes of Blue, grab Mausoleum. Mausoleum, activate target Spirit, send Blue Eyes White Dragon. Tribute Spirit Dragon, put your Blue Eyes on the field, normal summon your second Veiler, make Spirit Dragon. So we just converted 2 Effect Veilers into a Graveyard Negate and we do a Spirit Dragon plus Ultimate Spirit, which can tag on to Ultimate Spirit, which is an Omni Negate on field. So yeah, very good. Just the fact that we can do this now, like Spirit Dragon is like a guaranteed more than 1 negate now, because oftentimes, like, when you think, oh, what does Spirit Dragon tag out into? Like, before Ultimate Spirit existed, it was like, oh, I guess Rose Dragon or like Black Moon, Moonlight Black Rose Dragon or whatever the fuck it's called, right? So we now have this arguably better option, right? So yeah, mandatory 1 of minimum. Other variants of the deck might want to play 2 of these, like Pure Blue Eyes might want to play 2 of these, just to give you, the same way you might want to play 3 regular Spirit Dragons. You might want to bump this up to 2 in a pure build. Just because we're not running Buster Blader in a pure build, right? Alright, let's go to 1 copy of Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. This card is goated. 3400 attack, fusion, made using a Blue Eyes White Dragon and any dragon monster. Says must first either fusion summon or special summon from your action by tributing a Blue Eyes White Dragon equipped with a fusion monster. Remember, wishes can equip Blue Eyes White Dragon with a monster. So you can equip Blue Eyes and then immediately make Tyrant Dragon. It's unaffected by trap cards or effects. So if you're playing against like Labyrinth or like any other trap deck, trap tricks, like whatever, they literally cannot out this card without like Daruma Karma Cannon. Basically, Karma Cannon is they're only out for this card, right? And it can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Once per turn at the end of the damage step of this card battle, target trap in your graveyard set it. Actually, it doesn't have to be a normal trap. This can reset True Light, but most of the time you'll be resetting Majesty. And then if you don't have Majesty or True Light in the graveyard, you can reset Imperm. So I'm going to get to Imperm later. Imperm is also like a mandatory 3 of, for obvious reasons. Yeah, the fact that this can reset traps every turn is really good. Also, this is a board breaker. So if your opponent puts up a bunch of bodies, right? Most of the time, those monsters will be under 3400 attack. So if you're able to make this card on your opponent's turn, you can literally just attack all your opponent's monsters and just kill everything, right? Really good. Very, very good. Nothing. Most boards cannot survive a 3400 attack monster attacking all their monsters. If you can get this up against Snake Eyes, like kill their Flamberge, they bring out the 2 level 1s, you kill them as well. You just kill everything, right? You can just keep attacking until all their monsters are dead. So this is just a great going second board breaker. In the OCG and some TCG decks, some people think this card is so good it's worth playing at 2, like for the grind game, right? You could do that, and in fact, if you want to play like a pure Blue Eyes build and run 2 of these, very reasonable. Because this card is so good, because you can not only make it using Wishes, you can also make it using the second effect of Roar, which gives you a fusion summon, right? Yeah, so I'm playing just 1 of. Can't really think of many games where I'm like, oh man, I wish I had a second one of these. So, and then the third, another card we're playing is 1 copy of Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. So typically when you're using Wishes effect to attach a monster to your Blue Eyes, you will be attaching Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. So you almost never actually summon this card. So let's see why. The Blue Eyes, so you could technically fuse this, but you shouldn't because this effect on field is not good. So we're gonna ignore the first effect. Let's look at the second effect. When a card effect is activated, targets a Blue Eyes monsters you control. Quick effect: banish this card from your graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So this is literally like an Omni negate that, for negating targets. So you attach this to your vanilla Blue Eyes, right? You send it to the graveyard by either fusion summoning the Tyrant or synchro summoning into, or like just or link summon, whatever. You get into the graveyard. But now this is in your graveyard. Your opponent cannot target your monster, your Blue Eyes monsters on a turn. So let's say your opponent goes into their turn. Let's say they try to imperm your Spirit Dragon. You can chain this card to negate imperm. And let's say they imperm your Spirit Dragon again, then you can chain Spirit Dragons to tag out into Ultimate Dragon. So they just wasted 2 imperms and accomplished nothing, right? So yeah, this is just really good. Stop blocking targets is so powerful. Because a lot of cards in the meta game target. Like there's very few cards that don't target. And your main monsters you'll be ending on will be some combination like Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, maybe Tyrant Dragon, maybe Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit, right? So yeah, very good card. Yeah, these are your only fusions we're running. Yeah, we're playing. So these are the main, Blue Eyes core, right? There are other cards we're playing in our extra deck, which I'll get into later. But I would say the other cards are not necessarily core. Well, actually, maybe we can argue Hieratic Seal is core. So yeah, 1 copy of Hieratic Seal. Some variants of this deck might play 2. Like if you're playing Pure Blue Eyes, maybe you play 2 copies. This can be made using any 2 dragon monsters. So sometimes, if you get hand trapped or like you're, you can't end on the double Spirit Dragon. Most of the time, you do have enough materials on board to end on maybe a Spirit Dragon plus a Hieratic Seal. But also, Hieratic Seal is just a good card to end on, like if your opponent like max sees you, right? Because, it'll give them very minimal number of draws. I think they'll get like 2 draws out of this, right? So you can link this, right, with like Blue Eyes or like a plus a Spirit of Blue Eyes of Blue, right? This card has 2 effects. It's been made with any 2 dragon monsters. Once per opponent's turn, if this card is in the extra monster zone, tribute 1 monster from hand or field. Return 1 card, face-up card on the field to the hand, non-targeting. So, most of the time you'll tribute itself to unlock its second effect. So then you get to bounce one of your opponent's cards back, non-targeting. So this is very good for outing annoying extra deck monsters. This can out Dragoon technically, right? Any card that can be targeted, important face-up cards. Most of the time, your opponent will try to get rid of this card by battle phasing, right? Maybe like normal summon something in battle phase in order to try to get rid of it, but then you can bounce their normal summon like before it kills it runs over your Hieratic Seal. And plus they burn their battle phase, so this will at least get you to the next turn, right? If for whatever reason they try to imperm you, you can chain Hieratic Seal, tribute itself to bounce any face-up card, including the imperm. The imperm will still go to the graveyard. You can bounce your Mausoleum, you can bounce your True Light, whatever. You can bounce your Effect Veiler, actually. If you have a Effect Veiler on the field. Hey, wait, why would you ever have an Effect Veiler on the field? Well, remember that Maiden of White can special summon a tuner from the graveyard, right? So if you happen to have an Effect Veiler there, you could bring it back onto the field, but let's say you don't have another Blue Eyes to make a tuner with it, or like it's just an extra body. You can theoretically just bounce your own Effect Veiler back into your hand, and now it's an interruption, right? So pretty good. And then the second effect is if this card is tributed, special summon a Dragon Monster from hand or deck and make his attack defense 0. So there's 3 cards you'll be using this effect on. Number 1, you can bring a vanilla Blue Eyes from your deck. Why would you do that? Well, let's say you have Majesty set, right? So remember this card, Majesty. Bringing out a vanilla Blue Eyes from your deck will give you an extra pop with your Majesty, and that might be important depending on your matchup, right? You might want to bring out Magnemute. Why Magnemute? Because you bring out Magnemute, it can search a dragon on end phase, which means you can search Neo Kaiser Seahorse, which is full combo on the subsequent turn. Or you can, if you already use Magnemute, you can just bring out Neo Kaiser Seahorse directly, and then whenever it gets sent to the graveyard by either your opponent or yourself, you full combo on the next turn. So, yeah, this is a... Yeah, so Hieratic Seal gives you those options. So yeah, I guess I'll say Hieratic Seal is core to this deck, quote unquote, to the Blue Eyes package, simply because of how well it just plays, how nicely it plays with the other cards, right? All right, that's all I want to comment about Blue Eyes specific cards. There will be other extra deck cards we'll get into later. Well, yeah, let's talk about let's get into our Buster Blader package now. So our Buster Blader package consists of 4 cards in the main deck and 3 in the extra deck. 1 copy of Buster Whelp, 1 copy of Buster Blader, 1 copy of Memories, 1 copy of Prologue. Alright. Buster Whelp is a level 1 light tuner, which means it fits, and it's a dragon, which means it can be used to link into the link 1. It can be used to synchro into our level 9s. It can be used to make Hieratic Seal, right? It's just a solid, good, normal summon. It can be searched off Sage. It can be searched off Wishes. So you have lots of options. So yeah, 1 is really all you need. Some people argue, well, maybe you should run 2 to reduce bricking, because I'll get into the bricking problem in a bit. But so this card says, when this card normal summon, add a destruction soul card from your hand to your deck, except itself, and then it has a second effect which we don't care. So this card will almost certainly be searching Prologue. Prologue is the main important card of this deck, of the Buster Blader package. This card says, send 1 Destruction Sword card and 1 Buster Blader monster from your deck to your graveyard. So the Buster Blader monster you will be sending, it will be Buster Blader, obviously. This card is obviously a brick. You never want to see this in your opening hand, but if you do, the engine is killed. You can't use the Buster Blader engine, right? But, as in you can't Prologue. So why don't we run 2 of these? Well, because, again, this is a brick. We don't want to see this. So why would we double the chances of seeing a brick? Like, this is, I really hate the logic of like, oh, well, this card is a brick if you draw it. So we should double how many bricks we have in our deck so that you're more likely to have one in your deck. No, that's stupid. If you draw the 1 of brick, you just got unlucky. You just have to play around that fact. It is what it is. But drawing 2 bricks or increasing the chance of drawing a single brick does not make it worth it, right? Just accept that once you've seen Buster Blader in your opening hand, you're never gonna use Prologue. Just accept that fact, all right? It's not happening. Just give up on that, right? And it's okay, because sometimes that shit happens, right? But that does not justify playing more bricks. Absolutely not. Yeah, the worst feeling in the world is seeing this in your opening hand and just knowing, oh man, my Buster Blader engine is completely dead, right? But again, I do not think it's worth justifying a second brick. Like, we're already playing 2 vanillas, right? We're already playing another. By the way, 4 Memories is another brick, right? Because this is a card you want to send from your deck to your graveyard using Prologue. If you draw this, then the only other card you have to send is Buster Whelp. So if you hard open Prologue and this card, you basically have to get this card in the graveyard, use Prologue to send Buster Whelp and Buster Blader, and then you can pop off, right? Memories is a card that the first effect you don't care about. The second effect says, which is the one we care about, banish this card from graveyard, fusion summon a Buster Blader, Dragon Destroyer, Swordsman, using by banishing fusion materials listed from your graveyard. So you normal summon Buster Whelp, you search Prologue, you get this card into the graveyard, right? Using Spirit, using Synchro, whatever. You set Prologue onto your opponent's turn. You Prologue, you send Buster Blader with Memories, and then you chain Memories. Fuse Buster Blader with either Buster Whelp or with Spirit, with Eyes of Blue, depending on the whether you have access to Spirit. Most of the time, you just want to fuse the Spirit, and then you make the fusion. So let's get into the fusion. So the Buster Blader fusion, the two Buster Blader monsters that we care about here is 1 copy of Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, and 1 copy of Buster Dragon. The Prologue sends cards from your deck to graveyard, and it special summons 1 Buster Dragon from extra deck to graveyard, but destroy it during the end phase of your next turn. So this card, while it's on the field, all monsters your opponent controls become dragons. So that's cool. And then Buster Blader, the Dragon Swordsman, says, cannot attack directly. Gains 1,000 attack defense for every dragon your opponent controls or in the graveyard. Change all dragon monsters your opponent controls to defense position. Also, dragon monsters in your opponent's possession cannot activate their effects. That means in the graveyard, that means in the field, that means in the hand. No dragon monsters can activate their effects. So if you have Buster Dragon and Buster Blader on the field, your opponent cannot use any effects, period. On the field, and they're locked out of dragons in the graveyard or hand, but they can use non-dragon effects in the hand or graveyard. But if we also have Spirit Dragons, then we can negate graveyard effects. So yeah, this Buster Lock, honestly, if you can resolve this, most of the time your opponent scoops, instantly scoops, right? Because most decks doesn't have an out to this. And then they're going to end on a bunch of weak defense position monsters, and then guess what? You kill them on your turn because this card has piercing damage, and you can also go into Blue Eyes monsters and for like 3,000 plus damage. So most of the time, you resolve this, your opponent scoops. Yeah, the Buster Lock is very satisfying, and if you can get it out, your opponent scoops. Two things to notice. Two things to note. Number one, do not use prologue until your opponent has committed a body. Why? Because if you do it while your opponent's field is empty, they can literally just imperm your Buster Blader or your Buster Dragon, right? And then, you know, it's broken. So force them to commit a body and then prologue. Number two, against Tenpai, all their monsters are already dragons. So even if, you know, let's say your opponent has a bunch of board breakers. Let's say they lightning storm you, you chain prologue, you make the Buster Dragon, but you don't make the Buster Blader, right? Let's say they Raigeki your Buster Dragon, like the rest of your field, it's dead, right? As long as you have, so they blow all their board breakers on you, and then they normal summon, like whatever, doesn't matter. They commit a Tenpai monster. Then you use your graveyard memories effect to summon the Buster Blader monster onto the field, and then all their Tenpai monsters and dragons must go into the defense position because they're already dragons, and they cannot use their effects. So, yeah, they're toast, right? Yeah, very good card. Very good lock. Other thing to notice: if your opponent has Called by the Grave, they should use Called by the Grave on Buster Blader in response to you know, you using Destruction Memories. So let's say Chainlink 1 Prologue, Chainlink 2 Destruction Sword Memories. They would Chainlink 3 Call by the Grave to banish your Buster Blader, so you can't make the Buster Blader. However, you still make the Buster Dragon. Guess what? All your opponent's monsters become dragons. Why does that matter? Well, because against White Forest, they no longer have spellcasters or illusion monsters on their field, which means, you know, like half their cards reference, oh, if you control spellcaster or illusion monster, like, oh, spellcaster illusion monsters your opponent you control cannot whatever, or they make a lot of references to spellcaster and illusion monsters. But if you make this into if you have Buster Dragon on your field, but let's say your Buster Blader was like whatever stopped, they can't make a lot of their plays. That's also true against Fiendsmith, right? Fiendsmith requires light fiends on the field to do stuff. Guess what? They're no longer light fiends. They're now light dragons if Buster Dragon's on the field, which means that they can't use Moon to go into Requiem. They can't use they can't go to Caesar. They can't do a lot of stuff, right? Because of the Buster Dragon. So even if they somehow stop your Buster Blader, your Buster Dragon can still do work and still prevent them from doing stuff. Now, here's the thing. Okay, so can you stop the call by? Yes. So remember, we have this card called Ultimate Spirit Dragon. So if they called by on you, so let's say Chainlink 1, you Chainlink 1 Prologue, and then you Chainlink 2 Memories. They Chainlink 3 called by, you Chainlink 4 Spirit Dragon, bring out Ultimate Spirit. Buster Blader cannot be negated because it cannot be banished by Called by the Grave, and then your Buster block comes out anyway. So yeah, I've played, I don't know, 50 plus 100 duels to climb from gold 5 to master 1. Not a single time did my Buster Blader ever get called by. Never. It never happened. So yeah, you can feel pretty safe that it's just not going to happen. Also, because Buster Blader is a Earth monster, they can't even bestial you, right? So as long as you have Buster Blader with any dragon, right? Because if you read the fusion card, it says Buster Blader plus 1 dragon monster. So you have a lot of dragons. You have Buster Up, you have Spirit with Eyes of Blues, you have Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, you have Neo Blue Eye. You have a lot of options of dragons, right? Kaiser Seahorse, etc. One thing that's really cool is technically you could also use memories to dodge Called by on your Spirit Dragon, right? So let's say you Spirit Dragon tag out, they attempt to Called by on your Spirit Dragon. Let's say you don't have a second Spirit Dragon, or let's say they have a second Called by on your second Spirit Dragon. You can chain memories in your graveyard to fuse Buster Blader with your Spirit Dragon, the one that's gonna get banished earlier in the chain. Make Ultimate Spirit, and then your first Spirit does not get banished by Call by the Grave. So yeah, you have a lot of interesting options with the fact that like this fusion graveyard effect is a quick effect. Last thing to note: wishes, great discard fodder is Buster Blader and memories. So if you open Buster Blader memories, just discard them with wishes, right? With wishes, with memories in hand, you can still make the Buster Blader lock. With Buster Blader in hand, you cannot. Like, there's no way of getting it because it has to be in your deck, right? And I refuse to run more than 1 brick. So yeah, that's the Buster Blader core. I don't think it's worth running a second one of these because this card is searchable. And also, this card by itself doesn't really get you much access to the rest of your Blue Eyes engine. Yes, technically you can get access to a vanilla Blue Eyes. This is going to Link 1, Mausoleum, get a vanilla Blue Eyes, but without a tuner or another dragon, like, what's the point? Like, this doesn't actually go anywhere. You have to rely on the Buster Lock. Now, here's the thing. This card will be destroyed on the end phase of the following turn because that's what Prologue says. But I also run one copy of Hot Red Dragon, Archfiend Abyss, which is a level 9 tuner synchro monster, which says requires one tuner, one non-tuner Dark Dragon synchro monster. So you can literally make Hot Red Dragon on the subsequent turn using Buster Dragon plus any tuner, level 1, and you have many level 1 tuners. That way, you'll not lose this body on the end phase. Plus, you get access to a 3200 beat stick, and it's an Omni Negate. So this can negate any card on your opponent's field once per turn. And when you inflict battle damage, you can revive a level 1 tuner. So yeah, I like to run Hot Red Dragon, Archfiend Abyss here in order to use the Buster Dragon body as Swallow Up, just in case I don't have OTK or like, this is just a good way to make use of that body before it goes away. All right, so that is the Buster Blader core. Now let's get into hand traps and tech options. So 3 copies of Veiler makes sense. We are running 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This card is not once per turn, so it's just like Veiler in that it's not once per turn. It's a monster negate. Going second, you can just play this from your hand if you control no cards, right? And then if you set this going first, this negates card after it negates the monster effect, and also negates cards in the same column in the spell trap zone. So very good. Plus, this card can be reset by Tyrant Dragon. So if you don't have Majesty or True Light in the graveyard, you can literally get Imperm back onto your field using by attacking them with Tyrant Dragon. So very good. Mandatory 3 of. I don't see any scenario where you would want to run fewer than 3 of these because this just has so much synergy with your deck. Plus, it's like if you open all 3 of these, it's not once per turn, you can use all 3 against your opponent. We're running 2 copies of Max C because Max C is semi-limit. We can only run 2. This is the best hand trap in the game. Should be a no-brainer why we're running this, right? It's good going first or second. We're running 3 copies of Ash Blossom. The main reason Ash Blossom is here is to stop your opponent's Max C or Fualos. So, yeah, we don't stopping your opponent's combos. Like you typically don't do that with Ash. You stop your opponent from Max C with Ash. That's the main reason for Ash. Ash is once per turn. It can stop special summons. It can stop searches. So let's talk about like against common meta decks. What do you Ash? Against Yubel, you Ash their Samsara. So they get their normal Samsara. They tribute it to try to get Spirit of Yubel. You Ash to negate the summon of Spirit of Yubel, which could stop them in their tracks. Against Fiendsmith, if they use Tract to try to get Luri, you Ash that, so no Luri for them, which means no access to Fiendsmith engine without committing 2 bodies and going the moon route. Against White Forest, you want to Ash the I forgot what the White Forest monsters are called. There's one that's like you discard a card, you search a White Forest to your hand, and then you special this itself onto the field. If you Ash that, that's also very powerful. Against Snake Eye, you definitely want to Ash the Oak effect. So if they like use Oak to send 2 cards to special summon from the deck, you can Ash that. That's very good. You can Ash Original Sinful Spoils. That's a very good Ash target. Let's see, against Millennium Exodia, any effect that allows them to search the Millennium Ankh, you Ash, right? So actually it's the Millennium Shield. So once they try to use the Millennium Shield effect or the Blue Eyes, the Spirit of Blue Eyes or whatever it's called effect to search the Millennium Ankh, you Ash that. That's very good Ash. Against Blue Eyes, you obviously Ash Wishes, no exceptions. What other decks? Against Branded, you Ash Branded Fusion. Very, very straightforward. You just Ash Branded Fusion every time. Don't ask questions. Just Ash Branded Fusion. Obviously if you're going first, they Maxi you Ash Maxi, you Ash Wallows. Main reason Ash is here, it's actually like, I would argue Ash is like one of the worst hand traps that we're running, because it just does the least, I think. But it's mainly to stop your opponent's max C. Let's be honest. Imperm Veiler, I guess I'll talk about them once again, because they effectively do the same effect. I would say always lead with Imperm, because they cannot triple tactics talent you after you Imperm, but they can triple tactics talent you after you Veiler. Also, Veiler, you might need Veiler as part of your Blue Eyes combo, so try to save Veiler as late as possible. And then, so lead with Imperm if you have it. Against Blue Eyes, you obviously you Imperm Veiler, their Spirit Dragon. Against you Bell, you can preemptively Veiler Imperm their Samsara before it tributes itself. You can also Imperm Veiler the Spirit of Bell once they get onto the field, so they're still able to get Spirit of Bell onto the field. You should Veiler Imperm that, right? The on summon effect. Against Snake Eye, you Veiler Imperm the Snake Eye Ash, because Snake Eye Ash has two effects, right? The summon from deck effect and the search effect. That's very powerful. You Veiler Imperm against Fiendsmith, you Veiler Imperm the sequence, so they can't use the fusion effect. You can also Veiler Imperm Diabellstar, right? Because Diabellstar requires you to send a card to the graveyard to summon itself, and then it searches another card. Yeah, you can Ash Veiler that. Sorry, you can Imperm Veiler that. Against White Forest, you Imperm Veiler the Sylvie on field effect, right? So the on summon Sylvie effect is a good Veiler Imperm. Against Millennium Exodia, you just Veiler Imperm the Exodia. Veiler, obviously Exodia can negate the Imperm, so you want to Veiler the Exodia, so it cannot get its end phase search. Also, if they're going second against you, they can't OTK you if they're Veiler, because the Exodia will be a 0 attack, right? Although I will say that even when I say you want to lead with Imperm, oftentimes it's good for you to have an Imperm on your turn going second, so that you can drop Imperm on their boss monster going second, right? So let's say they end on Appaloosa, you start, you go into your turn, you Imperm their Appaloosa, gone. Like, its effect is toast, right? So sometimes you have to think like, hey, do I think I can stop them from making their board? If so, you lead with Imperm. If you don't think you can stop them from making their board, then you hold Imperm and just Imperm on your turn, and hope that getting rid of their Appaloosa or maybe their IP Masquerena will be enough, or their Desiree, whatever. Let's see other decks. So I mentioned Bell, I mentioned Fiendsmith, mentioned White Forest, mentioned Blue Eyes. Oh, against Branded, I like to use Veiler Imperm against Lubellion. Not the Bishop Lubellion, the Lubellion fusion monster. The reason for that is because most Branded players only play one copy of the Lubellion fusion monster, and that Lubellion fusion monster allows them to recycle materials like Fallen of Albash from their banish back into their deck. So it helps them out on the grind game, but also if you Veiler Imperm their Lubellion fusion, then they can't make Mirror Jade unless they specifically use a Blazing Cartesia. But just the fact that you cut off their grind game helps tremendously, right? Because without access to Lubellion in future turns, makes it a lot harder for them to recycle resources, right? So I like to Veiler Imperm the Lubellion fusion monster against Branded. Let's see, what other cards are good, or what other decks are good? I don't know. Against Labyrinth, I guess you Veiler Imperm the Lovely, so they don't get a pop or a reset on your turn, I guess. There's I guess those are enough decks. Against Centurion, let's talk about Centurion. You definitely want to Veiler Imperm their Synchro 12, the Auxilla or whatever it's called, because it cuts them off from being able to search further engine, and it cuts them off from being able to reset their Centurion cards from the graveyard onto their back row for follow-up. So that's where you want to Veiler Imperm against other decks. We are playing 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird. So yeah, this card is a level 1 spellcaster, which means you can use the combo. If you open Veiler, Droll, and no other like engine, you can normal Droll, link into your Spirit with Eyes of Blue, Mausoleum, send Blue Eyes, special Blue Eyes, revive Blue Eyes, and then normal summon Veiler, and then you have a Synchro set 9. So technically, Droll can be part of your combo in Blue Eyes, so that's cool. But also, Droll is just really good into the best decks of the format, which are Fiendsmith, Snake Eye, Azamina, White Forest, Shenanigans. Droll will instantly end a White Forest player's turn. Droll will also end. So a lot of Snake Eyes players are running the Millennium package, so they can get monsters into their back row. That package plays heavily into Droll. Against Blue Eyes, Droll doesn't do much. So once they've used Wishes, you can Droll them, but it's like, all right, well, Wishes has already been used. Like, who cares, right? So Droll does not do much against Blue Eyes. Under Droll, I played a Blue Eyes in the TCG, where I played through Ghost Ogre, Droll, and Desiree Negate. So I was going second. I was playing. This is real life and locals. I was playing Primite Blue Eyes into Ryziel Fiendsmith. I was able to stop their Ryziel line, but then they ended on Desiree, right? So on my turn, I was able to combo through Desiree Negate, Droll, and Ghost Ogre on my True Light, and I still ended on double Spirit Dragon with Hieratic Seal. Like, that's how little Droll does against Blue Eyes. Yeah, like you can still make like double Spirit Dragon is still within the cards. You can still make, again, depends on your hand, but you can still make double Spirit Dragon through Droll. So yeah, Droll doesn't do much against that. Against Millennium, Exodia, I mean, if they don't have access to, it might stop them from getting access to the Ankh, maybe. Against Branded, not super good. I guess, like, if you Droll them on the Aluber summon, they'll still have Branded Fusion probably, so it's like, doesn't do much. Yeah, White Force will end their turn. Yubel doesn't do that much against Yubel. I mean, it's good if Yubel opens the Dark Beckoning Beast or whatever, so or Circle comp line, right? So if they open normal summon Dark Summoning Beast to search Circle, you can Droll them, and then they can't get any further searches, but maybe they already have some Samsara, but they can still use Nightmare Throne to pop stuff. So, but they can't use Yama to search their Unchained stuff. So it does hurt Yubel in some ways, right? But yeah, the biggest best use cases of Droll are threefold. Number one, against White Forest, ends their turn. Number two, against Snake Eye variants, it will likely end their turn or make them end on like very little. And then number three is, let's say you're going first and they max you or Fualos you, you can actually Droll on your own turn to prevent them from drawing more cards. Now, you only want to use Droll after you've already used Wishes and Sage, because you don't care about any other searches. You can just rely on your graveyard revives for the rest of the turn, so that you can just Droll yourself on your own turn to stop them from drawing more cards. So yeah, Droll is pretty good. You could bump this up to 3. I thought 2 was fine. Like, I didn't really feel like I needed 3, but feel free to bump this up to 3 if you wish. Continuing on, we are playing. What else are we playing? We are playing 2 copies of Called by the Grave, and 1 copy of Cross Out Designator. The main use case of these cards are to stop Maxi / Fualos. Oh, speaking of, we are playing 1 copy of Fualos for the Mole. Forgot to spell it. Mole Charming Fualos. I don't like this card personally because, like, in the main deck, because again, this card pretty much only does anything if you're going second. If you're going first, this card is kind of bricky. But I'd rather just like not have this in my main deck. But it is a potential crossout target. And sometimes going second, you'll just have this card and all right, cool, more ways to draw cards on my opponent's turn, I guess, right? And you can actually bait Ash or Call by. You can Fualos first and then Maxi second, right? So bait the Call by or Crossout or Ash, and then like you follow up with Maxi. So yeah, Maxi is just strictly better because like you can use it on both players' turn, and whereas Fualos does not draw you cards from summoning from the graveyard or from the hand. So yeah, Flawless is fine. I just don't think I personally like playing more than one in the main deck. In the TCG, I literally just side these. I'm like, hey, if I'm going to game 1, I'm going first. I don't want to see a Flawless. So why would I have it? It's like, if you're siding for game 2 and 3 and you know you're going first, why would you put Flawless in your hand? Like, think about it. Like, think about in a TCG scenario where you're siding for going like game 2 or 3 and you know you're going first. Would you put Flawless in, or would you take Flawless out? You would take Flawless out, right? If you know you're going first. So if that's the case, why would you bother like main decking this card, right? I don't like seeing this card going first. It feels bad. It's very breaking. So I'm just playing this at 1. If you want to bump this up to 3, you can. Again, going over 40 cards is not the end of the world. Although if you bump up your hand trap ratios, so actually let me get to that later. Once I finish the deck profile, and then we are running 3 copies of we are running 1 copy of Triple Tactics Talents, 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is really good because going first, if they hand trap you at all, Thrust can literally set Prologue, Imperm, or Majesty from your deck if you're going first, right? So if your opponent activated a monster effect this turn, set a spell trap directly from your deck, which means, yeah, if you don't have access to Buster Whelp or whatever, it's just, oh, you're gonna hand trap, you're gonna ash me, my Sage, huh? Cool. I'm gonna go into Prologue, so I don't even need Buster Whelp to get Prologue, right? So this is it's like 2 more copies of Prologue, because it's almost guaranteed that you're gonna get hand trapped. It's very hard to not get hand trapped in the current format. Talents is very good. Going first or second. Going first, if they hand trap you, you use this and you rip a card from their hand, so you can rip another hand trap, or you can rip a starter, which is very powerful. But also just knowing what hand your opponent has, it means you know exactly how to save all your options for your opponent's turns. Like there'll be 1 card that they'll have, which will be an unknown to you, but like you know everything else, which means that you should be able to play through your opponent's turn. Going second, you use this card to look at your opponent's hand, to steal a monster from their field and until the end phase. I almost never use the draw 2 effect. It almost never comes up. I almost always use it going first, rip a card, going second, take one of your opponent's monsters. Take their Appaloosa, take their Desiree, take whatever. Take a monster that is annoying for them to not have access to, and then you can use their monster. If you steal their Appaloosa, you can use their Appaloosa on your turn to negate their monster effects. If you take their Desiree, you can use their Desiree on your turn to negate cards, right? So very good card going second. And actually, if you're going second, you can thrust into talent, right? So thrust says that your opponent activates a monster effect, you can set a card from deck, or if your opponent controls a monster, you can add it to your hand instead. So you can add talents to your hand and then just steal one of their monsters, right? So yeah, very good. And then yeah, so that's 42 card deck. Very solid, got me to Master 1. Now, let's talk about ratios. So let's say you decide, you know what, I want 3 Duels. I want 3 Fualos. I want 3 Talents. And I want 3 Thrusts. You could do this, but you're going to be, and the 48 is fine, you're going to be seeing your bricks less often, so you're less, in the 48 card deck, you're less likely to go into Buster, see your Buster Blader, but you're also less likely to see engines. So you might want to up your engine by like adding 1 more Neo Kaiser, and you can also up your engine by adding 3 Pure Erase Map, right? So so it's okay to go above 40 as long as the percent of your deck that is engine versus hand trap non-engine is roughly the same. So in my 42 card version, about 45% of my deck is non-engine. So on average, you see like 2 hand traps on your opening hand and then 3 engine, right? So you want to keep that ratio of seeing at least 2 hand traps. So make sure that, but not too little engine, right? So you still want to see your engine. So if you bump up the hand traps, you may want to bump up some of these ratios. Now, with a higher deck count, this might say, oh, that means you'll see Buster Blader less often. That's good for less bricking, right? Sure. Yeah, you will see your bricks less often, but you'll also see like Max C less often, right? You'll see your Fualos less often, right? You'll see your Droll less often. So you'll see Called By less often. So it's a trade-off. Like you'll have more options, but you'll see the cards that you want less often. So I would not be opposed to you going over. In fact, you could very well play a 60 card Blue Eyes deck. I think I saw there's a Blue Eyes player in Master who ran 60 cards. I think they just bumped up ratios and everything. But I think that's unnecessary. I think from my experience, the ratios that I had were good enough, right? So I had 42. Yeah, this is good enough. I saw every card that I wanted to see at a roughly good frequency. Like, I was able to see Called by the Grave as often as about I wanted. Oh, by the way, Called by the Grave, not just for stopping hand traps, but it can stop your opponent's Fiendsmith engine, right? You call by, like, let's say you're going second, you Call by the Grave on their Luri or their Engraver or whatever. That can be pretty powerful. You Call by the Grave against Yubel on Spirit of Yubel, that can be powerful. Or on their Yama, that can be powerful. Or on you can Call by the Grave on their Flamberge Dragon, that can be devastating against a Snake Eyes player, right? They send their Flamberge to the graveyard, they try to revive, you Call by. Not only do they lose access to Flamberge, but they don't get their level 1 bodies back, and yeah, that can be super devastating. Like, so yeah, Call by also has other uses, which is another reason why, you know, it's not just for stopping hand traps, it's also for just like stopping some of your opponent's important graveyard plays. So yeah, so that's the main deck that I was happy with. Feel free to modify the ratios as I've mentioned. Let's finish out our extra deck. So we are running 1 copy of Little Knight. This card is just broken. Like, every like combo or mid-range deck should be playing this card. It's just broken. 1 copy of Sky Crisis. Again, another broken card. So Little Knight can be made using 2 monsters. If you use an extra deck monster, you get an immediate graveyard or field banish. And if that's good, and if you do that, then you can actually banish like their original Sinful Spoils from their graveyard, right? Which prevents full follow-up. You can banish like a monster on their field, an annoying monster like their Flamberge, right? You get a lot of like key banishes with this card. It's just good, right? Please note that you can't make, he's a warrior, you can't make him if you're locked into dragons under this guy, right? Also note that if you're locked into dragons under this guy, that means you cannot make the Buster Blader warrior monster. So you got to get this guy off the field if you plan on Buster locking them, right? Typhon, you can just put this on top of any monster, the highest attack monster that you have, as long as your opponent summon 2 or more monsters from the extra deck on their turn. This is basically a floodgate that says your monsters with 3,000 or more attack cannot activate their effects. And this has a detachment material to bounce a monster from field to the hand non-targeting. So it could be a helpful board breaker. But if you go into Typhons, then you cannot summon anything else. Like, you're basically just locked out of special summoning. Can you normal summon? No, you can't normal summon either. Yes, this just locks you out from summoning for the rest of the turn, pretty much. So yeah, so be aware of that. And then final cards that we're running, we are running 1 copy of Crimson Dragon and 1 copy of Stardust Cipher Divine Dragon. So Crimson Dragon can be tagged out into using Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. You can also make Crimson Dragon to level 12 using Blue Eyes and Neo Kaiser Seahorse, right? This card on summon searches you Synchro Rumble. I am not playing Synchro Rumble. Synchro Rumble is kind of bricky. It's an extender, but like, it doesn't do much else. But if you like most time you don't want to hard open it. If you're playing pure Blue Eyes, then you do want to run Synchro Rumble, because Synchro Rumble enables you to get to your 3rd Spirit Dragon, and then like you know, just finish off your plays into Magia with whatever. Yeah, so the main thing you want to use this guy for is after you've made your Spirit Dragon on your opponent's turn, or you can do this on your own turn. So yeah, remember you have 2 Blue Eye Spirit Dragon on the field most of the time. Tag 1 out into Ultimate, tag 1 out into Crimson. Crimson targets Ultimate, and then tags out into Divine Stardust Cipher Divine Dragon. Now, why is this card good? Many reasons. Number 1, this card says the first time each card you control will be destroyed each turn by battle card effect, it is not destroyed. So if your opponent tries to Lightning Storm you while you have this card on the field, it'll do nothing. Like, your back row is protected from 1 wave of destruction effects per card every turn. Also, remember Spirit Dragon says on the after you tag out, you must pop and destroy the monster that you tag into on the end phase. Well, if you tag out into Ultimate Spirit Dragon, that Ultimate Spirit Dragon usually doesn't stay on the field. But if you also have Stardust Cipher Divine Dragon, then it does stay on the field. So that's very important. And finally, its last effect, which is very important, it says once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy 1 card on the field of your choice. So you can literally use this to negate a graveyard effect and pop a field monster, or like negate a hand effect and pop a field monster. Like, this is very flexible, but it's just like a once per turn monster negate. It's very powerful. Yeah, it's a light dragon. Like, yeah, it's just a good card. So a lot of synergies. Also, remember how Prologue says that you summon out your Buster Dragon, and that Buster Dragon is destroyed on the end phase of the next turn? Well, if you have different Divine Dragon, it will not get destroyed on the end phase. So you actually don't have to go into Hot Red Archfiend if you don't want to. Yeah, this is just very good card. Yeah, so that rounds out our extra deck at 15 cards. I was happy with this extra deck. Some alternatives that you can have in your extra deck. You could run Baronne de Fleur. Baronne de Fleur can be used using any level 9 and a tuner, and a level 1 tuner. So your level 9s include your Spirit Dragons, right? So you can make one, literally make one using that. You can also use Neo Kaiser Seahorse to do modulate your level 1 tuner to level 2, and then level 2 with the Blue Eyes can make Baronne. Also, Bishio Magnamote with Neo Kaiser Seahorse can also make Baronne. So that's an optional if you want to take out some of these cards. Now, in the Buster Blader version, you don't really have much space, but if you're playing pure Blue Eyes, having Baronne de Fleur is very reasonable. Having Crystal Wing, also very reasonable. It's a I don't own Crystal Wing, but like yeah, this can technically be made using the tag out method, right? Or like Crimson Dragon tag out, or you can modulate the level using Neo Kaiser Seahorse, right? You have options. You can also, for example, go into Chaos Angel, right? Chaos Angel is a level 10, can be made with lights and lights or darks. Doesn't have to be tuners. So yeah, Blue Eyes plus one or more non-tuner light or dark monsters. Yeah, so you can use Magnamoot with Neo Kaiser. You can use Spirit Dragon with any level 1 tuner. Yeah, you have options. So Chaos Angel, Baronne de Fleur, Crystal Wing, all reasonable options. And of course, you can also run Ancient Fairy Dragon. You would only want to run Ancient Fairy Dragon if you are running the Magia package, which I'm not, in a pure Blue Eyes only build. Otherwise, yeah, you don't really want this card. And one other option you could have is you could run Moonlight, Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. So you can cut the Crimson package and just run like Black Rose with like Baronne. So this just gives you another tag out option. So if you have Spirit Dragon, use a Graveyard Negate, you can tag out into this card. And this card says, if this card summoned or level 5 or higher monster special summon to your opponent's side of the field, target special summon monster your opponent controls and bounce it. So yeah, this is a very good interruption. And in the TCG, like a lot of Blue Eyes players who assume that they're going to get hand trapped into Oblivion might not end on double Spirit Dragon. So if you end on one Spirit Dragon, well, you have, you can't really go into Crimson Dragon, like the Crimson Dragon route. So you would want to go into like the Moonlight Dragon route or whatever. So this is also an alternative. All very reasonable. If you decide to go any of these other synchros while still playing the Buster Blader version, I would say cut the Crimson Dragon package completely, right? Which is just Cipher and like a Crimson Dragon. But obviously, that means that your Ultimate Spirit can only stay on the field via Neo Kaiser summon. So anyway, yeah, use this deck. You will get to Master 1. If you want to see combos and how this deck plays, go watch any of the last 3 videos that I posted before this one. The Adventures of series, the most recent one, has only duels in Master 5 to Master 1 rank, right? So go check that out. And then the other Adventures of videos have me against some more rogue decks, right? So against heroes, against Labyrinth, against like other decks that are not as popular in the meta. So anyway, let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, so I went over all the hand traps, where you should hand trap. Yeah, obviously Ghost Ogre, the True Light, Ash Blossom, the Wishes, Impervailer, the Link 1, and yeah, you'll have a pretty good time. I mean, I guess you can Droll. Yeah, Droll doesn't do much against his deck. And then obviously Maxi and Fualos is just good against every deck. Yeah, I hope you learned something. Hope you get to enjoy playing Blue Eyes as much as I have. Once the Primite cards come out, I will be making a Primite Blue Eyes deck, which will involve cutting the Buster Blader engine completely, which will free up our extra deck for a lot more interesting techs. Maybe we go into Moonlight, maybe we go to Baronne, we'll see. But yeah, Primite definitely will level up this deck tremendously. And also make us less bricky. Yeah, like the Buster Blader engine is definitely a double-edged sword. Where yeah, it is incredibly powerful if it pops off, but if you draw either of the bricks, you feel so bad. It feels like incredibly bad, like and crippling to draw one of the bricks. But again, playing more bricks does not justify. Is not justified. Period. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something and enjoyed. See you on the next video. Peace.